Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning again, everyone. My name is Sharon Stewart, and I'm the Women Veterans Coordinator for South Texas Veterans Commission. I'm a proud Army vet, and I spent 21 years, 6 months, and 20 days in the Army. Not that I counted, but during my first 11 years in the Army, while I was enlisted, I was a photojournalist. I spent the last 10 years of my military career as a signal officer. I want to start off by thanking you and welcoming you to Operation Homefront, Home Ownership Basics for the Military Community Explained. Last week, we started the mission by conducting reconnaissance, and today you're joining us for the mission analysis portion, and hopefully this will cause you to be aware of some very important factors before you purchase a home. We combine efforts because we simply want to empower you, our fellow vet. Now, twice during my military career, I was a plans officer. So for those of us who had to plan missions, exercises, weapon ranges, or even do something as simple as look for a location to conduct a physical fitness test, we know that some of the key outputs of a thorough mission analysis can and will be an effective, adaptive, and scalable decision-making process. Now, as a quick reminder, the Texas Veterans Commission is a state-level agency that provides assistance to the military community, such as filing VA disability claims, providing mental health advocacy, certification, training, education, employment, entrepreneurship, grants, healthcare advocacy. We were in the few states in the nation with a robust women veterans program. Our Women Veterans Program consists of Program Director, Dr. Krista Matthews, who, along with being the Program Director, provides assistance to women veterans in East Texas, Catherine Smith, who covers North Texas, Cynthia Lindoff, who covers West Texas, and of course, myself. Yes, we're all veterans, and we're all very proud of our military service. Also note that here at the Texas Veterans Commission, we don't turn anyone away. Approximately 30 to 40% of the clientele that I assist are male, and I've provided assistance to veterans who are overseas and other states, and of course, their family members. And also, please note that conducting this event and the following events does not denote an official endorsement by the Texas Veterans Commission of any of these agencies, services, or products. But we do want to acknowledge and thank all of the facilitators who are volunteering their time and expertise to help us today. I also want to mention that at the conclusion of today's webinar, a $50 gift card will be awarded to the participant who can answer the most questions. So please pay attention and take part and take notes, take plenty of notes. A foot stomp, I'm going to put a lot of information in the chat that may help you win the $50 gift card. Now, please allow me to introduce today's facilitators. We have Ms. Tiffany Giddens, my fellow Army vet and retiree, a residential loan officer, and Ms. Nicole Bo-Ramin, a 30-year military spouse. So Nicole, I'm sure you have a book coming forth about packing and unpacking and PCSing. You could probably have a New York Times bestseller with all the knowledge you've accumulated. But Nicole is a licensed loan officer and a managing director of the Fortitude Institute. And last but not least, we have Mr. Patrick Brennan, former Army Green Beret turned loan officer. Now, Nicole and Tiffany will speak first. And in my opinion, Patrick's perspective will be icing on the cake. And Patrick, just thinking about you being a former Green Beret, I'm probably going to be singing cadence for the rest of the day. But team, I so appreciate you for being here with us today. The knowledge you have and you're willing to share is highly anticipated. Now, having said that, ladies, take it away. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much, Sharon, for that wonderful welcome. All right, as she mentioned, my name is Nicole Bo-Ramin, and with me is Ms. Tiffany Giddens. And today we are going to help you with home buying with confidence. So a lot of people feel this way when thinking about home buying or thinking about even the paperwork involved with home buying, right? They're kind of holding their head and screaming. One of the three top reported most difficult parts of the home buying process that's been identified is purchasing the right property, the paperwork, and understanding the process. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to help you with buying the right property. We're going to have to leave that to a real estate agent. However, paperwork and the home buying process is what we are here to address today. Fear. Let's talk about this big, ugly thing called fear. Actually, it's not that big, right? Because we know it's false evidence appearing real. It's the thing that holds us hostage in our mind that stops us from taking that first step, where we think about all the things that can go wrong. One of the greatest ways to mitigate fear is by having facts. And so today, what we're going to do is empower you to overcome that fear and probably even encourage you to take that first step in owning your home. Regret. That is one of the things we fear the most, right? But regret, if you look on this chart, not many of home buyers regret purchasing a home. 57%, that's more than half of them regret buying a home. If you start to see what they are regretting, it kind of goes down to where we get all the way down to 4%, right? So I want you in the chat to tell me, when you think about purchasing a home, what's a regret? What is something you think like, man, I am going to regret this, or this is just not going to go right? I want to encourage you to kind of talk to us in the chat and let us know, what's that one thing that you think you're going to regret? Today's agenda. So we're going to cover 4 areas today: shopping for a lender, the power of a pre-approval, the life of the loan or the loan cycle, and the VA home loan benefit, which most of us are here about, right? We want to know, how do we lay hold of this thing that you've already earned?
Okay, so let's talk about shopping for a lender. There's 3 things that we want to focus on when we're shopping for a lender. We want to understand the types of loan costs. We're going to want to know what is the loan costing you, and then we want to see if the difference between the qualifications and versus the pre-approvals. Okay, so we start here with the types of costs. The different types of costs associated is the earnest money, the down payment, and closing costs. Many times buyers get these different costs confused with one another. So let me break it down for you. So earnest money is the first money that you present when you're trying to secure this contract. The money actually goes to title company, but it's for the seller to let them know that you are serious about this transaction and you want this home. And it's also, it helps save you just in case, for the buyer, in case something falls through as far as inspections, or the seller doesn't hold up their end of the bargain. So even though you give that earnest money to the seller, if something falls through that contract within a certain time period, you will get your earnest money back. And as a seller, it saves you too, because if the buyer doesn't hold up their end, like securing financing or something on their end, the seller gets to hold on to that money for taking their home off the market and having other potential buyers seek out that home. Now, let's talk about down payment. Fortunately for us as veterans with our VA home loan benefit, we do not have to put down a down payment. And down payment is basically the money that you pay up front to secure the financing. So that lender, that company is going to want to know that you can put this money down and then they'll give you that loan. It's different from earnest money because the earnest money goes towards the seller. Again, like I said, as a VA home loan benefit, you do not have to worry about paying a down payment to secure financing. You already been awarded that benefit. So closing costs. Closing costs, those are the fees and charges in excess of the purchase price of the property due at closing of a real estate transaction. It may consist of your insurance premiums, real estate commissions, taxes, title, and recording filings. The average cost for a buyer runs about 2 to 5% of the loan amount. That's how you'll give you a general idea of what your closing costs will be. But just to give you an example, on a $300,000 home, you would pay around $6,000 to $15,000 in closing costs. Keep in mind that depends on the fees and premiums of your homeowner's insurance, title company, and so forth.
Okay, so here's one thing I want to tack on with Tiffany and remind you of, or I want you to pay close attention to. Down payment and closing costs. They're 2 different things. A lot of times what we found is when veterans get to us and we start explaining what the closing costs are, a lot of time they panic and they go, no, I don't put anything down. So please note your down payment is different than your closing costs. All right. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I just want you to hone in on the difference between the two. They are not the same thing.
Okay, so let's break down closing costs a little further. So the first category, you have title and escrow. That consists of title, insurance, doc fees, recording fees. Title company, your escrow company, they have their predetermined fees. So your lender is not in control of that. However, depending if you're the buyer or the seller, you can choose what company you want to go through. The next category is prepaids. Another category that lenders do not have control over. Property taxes, that's dictated by the county that you're in and the value that was appraised for. And then your homeowner's insurance premium. And that's totally up to you what type of homeowner's insurance policy you want. Just keep in mind, the more expensive your homeowner's insurance policy, that can increase your monthly mortgage. Okay, now the category that we have highlighted here, lender fees. This area is where you're going to really, you are in control of what company you want to go to, because you'll be able to see how much they charge for origination fee, how much they charge for underwriting and processing. And depending on the company, basically, to sum it up, lender fees is just the fees that they charge you just to perform your loan period. Okay. I'm sorry, one thing I wanted to hit on this too, because a lot of buyers get confused about this. Discount points. Yes, it's the name discount. It really doesn't mean a discount. Discount points are the upfront payment to the lender to reduce your interest rate on your loan, and which will therefore lower your monthly payment. 1 point equals 1% of the loan amount. So when you're talking about buying down your rates and you see these different points, just know that 1 point is 1%. And that is additional funds that you will bring to closing to secure that lower rate. So in essence, discount points is not a discount. It discounts it later down the loan cycle when you're paying a lower interest rate, but upfront, you're not receiving a discount. So now we have pre-qualifications and pre-approvals. Sorry, Nicole, go ahead.
All right. So pre-qualifications and pre-approval. What is the basic difference? So have you ever received those little flyers in the mail that says, congratulations, we've approved you for $5 million. Just call us today to receive your funds. And you call, and then they get some more information from you. And then they check some things. And then they come back on the call and they're like, sorry, we can approve you for $5. That is the effect of pre-qualification. When they pre-qualify you, they've not verified any information. They've just taken some basic information, looked over it, and made an assessment, right? It just doesn't give you any, you're not competitive. So when they're done, you end up with this big surprise. Sometimes you will find that loan officers or lenders will kind of pre-qualify you. And by that, I mean, they may just take over, like, how much do you think you make a month? And how much would you say you pay in? And how much do you think your debt is? That's a pre-qualification. Now, a pre-approval is when they say to you, we need these 7 or 8 pieces or 9 pieces, depending on your situation, pieces of documents in order for us to verify them so that we can tell you exactly, 1, how much home you can afford, and 2, have you have a pre-approval letter to submit when you are looking for a home. In today's market, you want to have your pre-approval letter before you start shopping, right? It makes you competitive. No seller, no real estate agent is going to accept a pre-qualification. They said I could get, so I want to bid on this house. A lot of them are going to go, do you have your pre-approval letter? Would like to see it. So you definitely want to focus on the pre-approval. Do not go out there with just a pre-qualification. Do not settle for that. Do not be satisfied with that. Ask for pre-approval. I know it's a little bit daunting because people are going to have to get into your information, but it's worth it in the long run.
Yes. So as Nicola said, there's documents that need to be collected in order for you to get an accurate pre-approval. And here are the list of the documents that you would need to present to your loan officer in order to receive that pre-approval. So we'll start off with the certificate of eligibility, basically stating that you are eligible to get this VA home loan benefit. Depending on your service, you'll need to provide your DD-214, past 2 years W-2s, previous 2 months pay stubs or LES, previous 2 months bank statements, and past 2 years tax returns. What I want to say before I move forward, please do not black out any information when you're submitting this to your loan officer. They need to be able to verify that entire document. And the additional two documents, if it applies to you, divorce decree. So if you're paying child support or you're receiving child support, we want to see that because we need to add it to your income, or we need to verify that's a liability. And if you've had a bankruptcy, you want to submit all those documents as well so that we can verify all the information and basically to give you an accurate assessment of where you're standing at.
Beautiful. One of the things I want to reiterate too about the blacking out, I know some of us are concerned about identity theft. We're concerned about our information being misused. I want to show you that there are laws, legalities in place to protect your information. Your loan officer should never just have your information if it's physical laying about. It should be in a locked drawer. Even when we're on, we have certain privacy and protections put in place on our computers in order to make sure your information is safe. So please don't feel like, oh, I'm going to turn this over to them. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't know who it's going to be exposed to. I promise you that there are things in place that would hold us liable, hold us responsible to make sure that your documentation is protected.
Okay, so this is a very nice slide. So do's and don'ts. Do's are very self-explanatory. I'll let you read through those, but I want to highlight on the don'ts. And to me, it's very important because there have been situations where buyers forgot about this list, and what it did was hinder or delay their home buying process. So first thing first, you don't want to get any new credit. Because that affects the figures that your loan officer has already ran. Keep in mind, when you're first doing it, they're running your credit, they're trying to see what liabilities you have, and you don't want to get any new credit because towards the end, we're going to have to verify that you're still in the same standing point. Big purchases. It goes along with new credit. You don't want to make any big purchases, even though the VA home loan benefit goes off residual income, your debt to income ratio is looked at as well. Payoffs. Yes, paying off credit cards, any debts you have is a great thing. However, you want to speak with your loan officer so they can analyze the situation and tell you how much you should pay off, which cards you should pay off, because credit is funny. You can pay something off, but when you initially pays it off, your credit score does go down before it comes back up. So you don't want to be in the middle of getting approved for the loan about to close and then your credit score drops. So that's a conversation that you and your loan officer need to have to make sure that you're very strategic in how you move along with this process. Deposits, making sure that you don't make any unsourced cash deposits, because for any money coming in or going out in your bank statements, we're going to have to verify and source those. So that's why it's very important that you don't do anything out the ordinary when it comes to your bank accounts. Changing jobs, that should be a given, but we like to put that out there. There have been many times that people, they get approved for a loan and then they quit their job and then they're waiting for something else. Make sure that if there's anything that's going to come up with change with your employment history, make sure you're talking to your loan officer. Okay, keep on saying talking to your loan officer. This is a partnership. You need to be communicating because you want to make sure that this process goes as smoothly as possible. Then lastly, money orders. You do not want to use a money order when you are submitting your earnest money. And the reason is for that, again, is because we need to source that money that is coming out of your account and going into whatever wire, or we have to prove that it went to the title company. And all it does is just makes your process more smoother at the end because you want to have everything annotated that you provided for this loan.
All right. And of course, I'm going to jump in here and tag on. What are a couple of the ones that we see constantly? Big purchases. A lot of
Mhm.
times people get so excited about their new home, they go out and they finance furniture, or they take a lump sum of money off of their account to pay for the furniture.
Yes.
Everybody put in the chat box, don't do it. Don't do it. Second one is paying off loans. Unless you're working with your loan officer and someone that's helping you with your credit repair or whatever in tandem, and this communication, put in the chat box again, don't do it. Don't do it, right? Have that conversation. The last one that I've seen a lot of is when we're expecting, like, sometimes parents will gift money to help with your closing costs, or gift money for you towards the home. Well, I'm not going to say don't do it. If someone's giving you some money, I'm not going to say don't do it. But what I am going to say is have that conversation, because there's a lot of explanation that we need to have, because we need to know whether or not you have to pay that money back, because then that counts against you as a debt, or if it's just going to be a gift and you're not liable for that at all. So there's a lot of explanation for that. And as Tiffany said, we have to source the funds. So not only will we need your bank statement, we're going to need their bank statement to show they had the money on their account. So this is why we are encouraging you, if you walk away with nothing else, is to shop around for a lender, because you guys are going to be partners. You are going to have to talk to them about some things that are going to seem private. So don't just pick any old willy-nilly because that's who your cousin, friend, aunt recommended. Have the conversation and shop around. You are now empowered to know that, hey, I have to get pretty personal with you. So can I ask you a couple of questions? That's okay to say, okay? Moving on, life of the loan, AKA loan process. And yes, this is simplified. Go, Tiffany.
Oh, so yes, there's 14 steps in a loan process, but keep in mind, if you have a good loan officer, well, I'm not gonna say if, when you get the good loan officer,
There we
you are
go.
going to know every step of this process. And I will also say too, a lot of this stuff is on the loan officer, okay? So you don't have to think that you're doing everything, but when you get your good loan officer, they're gonna explain this to you as well. So starting off, you're gonna gather all your documents. You're going to fill out your application, and you're going to submit it to your loan officer. Keep in mind, where you're gathering all the documents, the more information that you supply your loan officer, the better. I always advise buyers is that we want to do the hard work up front. So when we get down closer to closing, it's a smooth process. You don't have to worry about anything. So I'd rather do the hard work up front. So you can submit it to your loan officer. They're going to review every single thing. They're going to crunch numbers, and they're like, okay, boom, here's your stamp of approval. Here is your pre-approval. They're going to give you your loan amount, and you and your realtor are going to go shopping. With that pre-approval, you're going to submit your offer. It's going to get accepted. You're going to receive your contract. And on step 5, you're going to submit it to your loan officer. When you submit it to your loan officer, they're going to lock your interest rate, and then they're going to submit you an official loan estimate. With that loan estimate, you're going to be able to review all the fees and all the charges associated with you obtaining this loan. After that, your loan packet is submitted to processing. The processor is going to review all the documentation, make sure everything is lined up, and then request additional documentation if they see that anything is missing. If there's nothing missing, they're going to submit it right to underwriting review. Underwriting is going to, they're going to look at your file, come in with a fine-tooth comb, make sure there's not anything missing. If there's additional conditions that they would like to see, then they're going to give you a conditional approval. With that conditional approval, the loan officer is going to contact you, ask you for your additional documentation to satisfy the underwriter, and then they're going to resubmit it back to the underwriter. After the underwriter is satisfied with the additional documentation provided, they're going to issue you a clear to close. And that's on step 12. The clear to close, you're almost home free. That gives closing department, title company time to balance and generate your loan documents. That's on step 13. They're going to get your final numbers, and you're going to know exactly how much money you need to bring to the table to sign. On the last step, you'll sign all your paperwork, you'll furnish your wire or certified cashier's check, and then your loan will be funded. After your loan is funded, the money is released, you will receive your keys.
All right. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in the chat, I'm tired just listening to that. Really, it seems like a lot, guys, but this is just to give you some idea of the process of what's happening. As we said in our first slide, this is one of the things that cause people not to even step out and buy a home because they don't know what the process looks like. This is a process. You're going to have an excellent loan officer who's going to have a full team of people behind them to help you every step of the way. But this is just so you have an idea. The other thing I want you guys to keep in mind is this process may shift. 6 and 4 may be different. 5 and 3 may be different depending on your loan officer. So please don't go on with the little sheet of paper, which should be in your chat box. So please be checking your chat box. Every one of our slides that we've put up that has a lot of information like this, we have for you to print or keep on your computer that you can review at your leisure. Don't go in and go, okay, we have to go exactly on this step because Nicole and Tiffany said so. That's not, everyone has a different pattern, but this is so you know. This is what's going to be expected. The other thing I want you to pay attention to is how many times it says additional documentation, additional documentation, additional documentation. All right. That's where you come in. This is where you are in the driver's seat. If your loan officer asks you for certain documents, it's up to you to try to get it to them within 24 to 48 hours. The longer it takes you to get it in, once again, you could cause that to shift and your closing date move. So please pay attention to that and note that down in your notes if you're taking notes with us. All right, so we just went through that whole little journey and I told you that the loan officer has a team behind them. So what does that team look like? So here's what I want you to imagine. I want you to imagine that we're going to put your case forward and we're in a court. So the underwriter is the judge. Not because they're mean and they want to send you to jail and keep your home away from you, but because since 2018, we've had a lot of revisions in the mortgage industry to protect you, the consumer. So the underwriter's job is to make sure we're doing due diligence by you, right? So we have that. The underwriter's up there. Your loan officer, that's your attorney. Your loan officer is there to tell your story, to plead your case so that you get the home you want. The loan officer assistant, that is your paralegal. Paralegal gathers all the information and documentation to make sure that loan officer looks good, has the right story to tell, and we keep the proceedings moving. Now, as with any court, we have several clerks involved, right? Processor is one of them. She reviews documents as they come through to make sure they are all in order before we even send them up for the judge to look at, right? Before they go up there and put it before the bench, she makes sure your stuff is together. We have 2 other clerks involved. We have the closer. Closer is basically the one that does all the stamping. If you've ever been at a courthouse, you have that one person in the back that has all the stamp and does the stamp. Okay, that's your closer, right? And then the funding specialist, I think this is everyone's favorite clerk in the mortgage processing. Why? They push the button for everyone to get paid and you to get your keys. So these are the people that will go with you on that journey that we just took you on. They will go with you to support you and help you and educate you along the way. And I want to kind of hone on that a little bit. Never be afraid to ask a question if something is unclear. Never think you're coming across aggressive. This is your home. This is your mortgage. This is your loan. Make sure you're aware of everything and how it's proceeding.
Okay, so here are some products. Just a few products that's out there. We all know about conventional loans. I feel like that's one product that's been out there since before time. And the myth with that, you have to put down 20% down payment in order to get a home loan. And that's, to be honest with you, that's deterred a lot of people from purchasing a home because of that myth. But just to let you know, conventional loans, you can put a down payment as low as 3%. However, since we have the home loan VA benefit, we don't have to worry about that because we have a 0 down payment. But I wanted to highlight down payment assistance, the DPA. And down payment assistance is a state-funded program, and Texas has 2 of those. What they are 2 programs that can assist you with your down payment and your closing costs. I bring this up now because sometimes, even though we don't have to pay a down payment for our VA home loan, but we might need assistance with cash to close. You can utilize these 2 state-funded organizations to help with those funds to bring to the closing table. The first state-funded program is Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and the other one is the State Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation program. Both of those links are going to be provided in the chat so you can do more research and look at more information about it. But one thing I do want to say, when you receive this money with both of these programs, there is a predetermined interest rate associated with the monies that you receive. So depending on how much assistance you need, will dictate how much your interest rate is. Your lender does not have any authority or oversight over that because these are state funded. And if you choose to receive these from the state, you have to go by their guidelines. But again, they're great additional resources that veterans can use to receive those additional funds that may be needed at the end of the table. Okay, so who's eligible? All our veterans, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard. 90 days during wartime, 101 days during peacetime.
And we are talking about the VA home loan benefit in case you're taking notes.
Yes. Okay, also we have the reserves or National Guard. And the key thing to highlight about this, they have to have 6 years of service completion, okay? In addition, they have to have honorable discharge or placed on retired list, or they can be still serving in the reserves or the Guard. Also, veterans that are discharged for a service-connected disability are eligible for the VA home loan benefit. Also, the spouse of the unmarried spouse of a veteran who passed away from a service-connected disability is also eligible to use the VA home loan benefit.
All right, and one of the things I want to highlight is the service-connected disability. A lot of times we have people that come to us and they go, well, I only get my retirement pay and my disability check. I don't qualify to use my VA. We'll address that further, but the answer is wrong answer. So please pay attention to this when we're talking about it, because it does matter in the long scene of things.
Oh, the certificate of eligibility. This is the document that is going to let your loan officer and you know that you are eligible for the VA home loan benefit. 9 times out of 10, your loan officer is going to get this for you. So I'll start from the bottom up. You'll retrieve it from your loan officer. They'll get a little bit of information for you and they'll submit the request. However, you can do it yourself by logging on to ebenefits.va.gov and you can submit the request online. If you don't feel comfortable using the internet, you can always retrieve the form and mail it in, and then you'll receive your certificate of eligibility through the mail.
All right, and once again, we want to stress that your loan officer is able to get it. They may need a little bit more information from time to time. Once in a while, we'll need to know the last duty station. We'll need to know some information about that duty station. However, it is possible for us to retrieve that information for you if that's something that you're not comfortable doing on your own.
So what's on the COE? So the COE is basically information that your lender needs in order to process your loan and to make sure that you are getting the best case scenario. So for one, it's gonna show your entitlement. It's a code that we'll use to put in the system. Now, number 2, funding fee. And this is why I say it'll make sure that you are saving, receiving a savings. Funding fee, it'll say if you're exempt or not exempt. And why that's important, because that fee will be added to your loan. So if you don't have to pay a funding fee, then your loan amount won't be as high. Then it tells us if you had a prior loan, if you used your VA benefit previously for a previous purchase, and then it's also going to show us the conditions. It's going to let us know if this is your first entitlement or if this is a certificate eligibility used for a refinance.
All right, and so everyone now put in the chat, doesn't make sense. Like, tell me this makes sense. $300,000 was for the loan, but the entitlement charge was $75,000. I know the first time I saw it, I was like, makes absolutely no sense. So I think we should ask Tiffany later to explain that to us. So please put, do not make sense. All right. So before we jump in and have Tiffany break down all of that good stuff for you, I want to ask you a question. What do you think can be financed using your VA home loan benefit? So there are 4 pictures up here, and I want you to take a look at each one of them, and I want you to decide, do you think one of them was financed using it? 2, all? Drop that in the chat box for us. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and go through the list, right? So single family homes can be financed, mobile homes on a slab, duplexes, quadruplexes, condos. However, the condos must be VA approved. New builds and construction. And I say construction, we know we can't use it to buy land by itself, but there is a way to package a construction loan in order for your VA to cover it. All right, so let me see what we have in the chat real quick before we move on. Let's see how many you think were actually, nobody put any thoughts in there. How many do you think are eligible? How many do you think was financed using the VA home loan? Come on, guys, give me something in there. All of them? I think all, come on. There was actually 2 of them. We could have used all because between Tiffany's family and my family, we have used the VA home loan a total of 6 times personally, right?
Yes.
But only 2, which is the top 2, this one here and this one here. To your right, the top 2, those were used to finance. One was a home in North Carolina and the other one was for a condo in Hawaii. So it can be utilized. And this was done while both our families were on active duty. Doesn't mean that we can't find a way to do it when you're already separated or transitioned. So please don't let that deter you. But there is a way to use your VA home loan multiple times. And the one in North Carolina and the one in Hawaii were both owned at the same time using the VA home loan benefit. We'll get into that a little bit more. All right.
Okay, so things to note about the VA home loan benefit and why it's so great. First of all, there's no PMI mortgage protection insurance. Why is that important? Because it can add an additional $100 to $300 to your monthly mortgage. Another great thing, there is no down payment. Using your VA home loan benefit, you're not required to put down a down payment. The third great thing about the VA home loan benefit is that your loan is based off residual income, base. Most loan products, they're using the debt to credit ratio, but for the VA home loan benefit, we're using residual income base. So the question is, okay, what is residual income base? So residual income base is the money that you bring home after you have paid all your bills. And that's what the VA is concerned about. They want to make sure that this home is not a burden, that you can afford this home and still live your life and pay your bills after you have made this purchase. So that's what the VA home loan benefit is based off, residual income that you bring home.
Woo, myths and facts. I can only use my VA home loan benefit for my first home.
Not true. Once the current VA loan is paid off, another VA loan can be originated. This is called the second tier entitlement, where you can use the remaining balance of your entitlement for a second purchase. Okay, so what is the second tier entitlement? So this is how me and Nicole were able to purchase multiple homes under our one VA home loan benefit. So to start off, I'll paint a little story. So the first use is, I'll say me. I'm here in San Antonio. I was stationed here and I purchased a home that is $300,000. Now, when you're purchasing your first home, you want to pay attention to the county limit. The county limit for Bexar County is $647,200. To obtain the entitlement is 25% of the loan limit. So that's how we got that calculation for your total entitlement. So I have $161,800 that I could use while being here in Texas. So I did that. I purchased my first home at $300,000. My remaining entitlement is $86,800. So guess what? The Army put me on orders. I moved to Killeen. While I'm in Killeen, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be here for a little bit. I'm gonna purchase my second home and using my VA home loan benefit, and then it drops down to my remaining entitlement. By doing that and staying under the county limit, I'm able to purchase 2 homes without putting down a down payment.
All right, I think we should get some chairs. You guys know how to do the cheering thing, little popping thing, or some hand claps? I think that's good news, right? We should get excited about this.
Yes. Okay.
I can't use my VA home loan because I don't have a credit score of 640, 620.
Not true. Credit score is lender specific. If you look up the VA home loan benefit guidelines, you will see that for the VA, they do not require you to have a specific credit score. That is basically the overlays that each lender will put on. So you can go to one lender and they say they want you to have a 620 while other lender has a 640, and that's how they're able to do that.
There will always be a funding fee.
Not true. If you have a VA disability rating, regardless what percentage it is, you are exempt from having the funding fee. And the new update just stated that if you receive a Purple Heart, you are not required to pay a funding fee.
Let's see about these funding fees.
Okay, so let's talk about the funding fee. So funding fee is basically the fee that the VA would charge you for you to have this benefit. For the first time purchase, to use your VA benefit is 2.3% of the loan. And then if for every additional time that you use, your VA benefit is 3.6 of the loan. However, the funding fee may be rolled into the loan. And if you have a disability rating, you're exempt. Again, regardless of what percentage is, you're exempt from paying this.
Beautiful. VA appraisers are more strict.
This is absolutely not true. A VA appraiser is the same person as a conventional appraiser. The only thing is the difference that they have been certified by the VA to perform these appraisals.
All right. And one of the things I noticed in the chat box is someone was saying that one of the regrets is that I'm going to get a lemon, that I'm going to get, something that is going to break down on me. This is where the VA appraiser, that's your friend, because they go according to the VA home loan guideline, which means they're going to make sure that the air conditioning works. They're going to make sure the roof is intact. They're going to make sure there are things that, under conventional guidelines may be able to be overlooked, but for the VA appraiser, they don't have the same luxury. Their job is to make sure you don't get that lemon. And that if there's something about it that's kind of lemony, sorry, bad pun, but they will let you know. And you can decide at that point if that's something you want to move forward with. So this is where your VA home loan benefit really takes away that regret of thinking, oh, I may end up with a lemon, because the appraisers are there to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, they make it happen. So before I move on, I just want to let everyone know that I dropped in the chat the VA pamphlet for your VA home loan benefit. It has all the chapters in there, and knowledge is power. My main thing is one, to make sure that you understand and you're able to look for yourself and see for yourself, so you're able to make a better decision when you're using your VA home loan benefit. So when you get a chance, do a little bit browsing about it. It has all the chapters in there, and you can make sure you're more familiar, which will make you more comfortable going through this process.
And there are quite a few chapters in there. So here's a few that I will highlight for you to take a look at. Look at chapter 4, because that's the guidelines on how we decide creditworthiness or how we process it. You want to look at chapter 10, 11, and 12. Why? Because those tell you what the appraiser are looking for. What can the appraiser protect you from? It also helps you understand how the loan works to your benefit. So if you want to just jump through and you're like, oh, I'm not going to read that whole thing, just kind of put chapter 4, 10, 11, and 12 in the bathroom, and you'll make it through it. I promise. All right. So let's make it happen. How do you make this home buying thing happen? Right? And this is a great time for you to start dropping more questions in there, or just kind of sharing with us your comments. But this is how you make it happen. Tiffany?
As easy as 1, 2, 3. You're going to shop for a lender. You're going to find a lender that you're comfortable with, that's knowledgeable about the VA home loan benefit. Key thing is the VA home loan benefit, because that's what our meat and potatoes in. This is a great benefit. We don't want to lose it, right? Next thing, you're going to get pre-approved. Take your pre-approval. Then the only thing is left to do is go shopping for your new home.
All right. And many times we found that people have always done this in reverse, right? They start looking at homes, they fall in love with the $500,000 home, then they just take whichever lender they get, and then they found out they only qualify for $485, right? So what we want to do is stop that heartbreak, that cycle, right? We want you to go ahead, shop for that lender first, get pre-approved, then look for the home, right? The other scenario is walk away from the pre-qualifications. Don't let someone say, if they have not seen your documents, don't let them tell you, oh, I got you, you're up to XYZ, TYW. get it in writing. One, because it's a very competitive market. It is beyond competitive at this point. So if you see what you like, 9 times out of 10, you don't have time to go and ponder it for 3 days. It'll be gone. So you need that pre-approval letter locked and loaded with your real estate agent so that you guys can put that offer in right away, right? So you really want to lead with these 2 things. The other reason why we want you to start with shopping for a lender is because you get educated on what to expect, right? It takes away that fear factor, because fear will go ahead and tell you all sorts of things are going to go wrong when it may be as simple as much as getting educated about something. So today we want to encourage you. Get that lender, shop for that person, get comfortable with them, get pre-approved, and then start looking for your forever home. You now have the confidence and you're now empowered to look for a home. Any questions?
Ladies, there were some excellent questions in the chat, and I don't know if I don't want to mispronounce your name, but I believe Miss Janelle and Miss Johanna both had some very good questions. I have never seen those questions before. So ladies, if you wanted to ask your questions, I can read them from the chat, but yeah, I thought they were pretty interesting. So I'm kind of adjusting fire right quick. Janelle Johnson had asked, can a child of a veteran who died of a non-service connected disability receive a VA loan?
Hello. So unfortunately, no, it has to be the spouse. The children does not have that benefit.
Someone had inquired about the Texas VA loan, and they might be thinking of VLB, the Veterans Land Board, but I think you may have addressed that. But yeah, Miss Johanna asked, what is a Texas VA loan? So Miss Johanna, did you want to just reiterate on that or get clarification? Okay, she said, I guess if you wanted to just elaborate on that, I might have pounded into everybody's head to stay muted and keep your cameras off. So thanks for listening. This is, yeah, a bunch of veterans are going to follow orders, so to speak. But ladies, from what I understand, there's no such thing as a Texas VA loan. In next week, Ms. Johanna, the Veterans Land Board on August 3rd, they will be our next presenters, just in case that helps at all.
Okay, I do want to address something. So we have the VA home loan, we have the Texas Land Board, and then I touched on earlier was the DPA down payment assistance. Maybe you're inquiring about those 2 home buyers program. So those are down payment assistance programs that Texas has. So it's you have the Homes for Texas Heroes home loan program. That's the Texas State Affordable Housing. And then the other Texas state funded program is Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for jumping in and chiming in. That is perfect timing. I want to go ahead and introduce you so you can give your portion. It seems like we have some phenomenal interaction and dialogue. So once you finish yours, then we can give our audience time to ask their questions, which I think are absolutely phenomenal questions. Now, before I formally reintroduce my fellow Army vet, Patrick, I wanted to ask the questions that will lead to the winner of the $50 gift card drawing. I've been placing items in the chat, and I've been saying foot stomp, and I just realized everybody may not be an Army vet, and they may think, what is wrong with this lady? So that is a nice way of saying, please pay attention. Well, I'm gonna say retro way of saying, please pay attention. So I'm going to ask some questions, and I'm asking you, please simply put your answers in the chat. Don't unmute or take your camera off for this part, but the person who can answer the most amount of questions will be the winner of the $50 gift card. Then we're going to have Patrick brief, and then you all can ask your questions. And thank you for those Excellent questions. All right, so for those who have been taking notes, I say again, put your answers in the chat. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out, but what's the definition of earnest money? What's the definition of pre-approval? Can you name some of the people who are behind the loan process? Please name at least one way to obtain your COE, aka Certificate of Eligibility. And last but not least, true or false, you can only use your VA loan once. And I'm going to say these again and put these in the chat. And while you're providing your answers, we're going to let Patrick just continue with this powerful air power. There you go. Okay, so okay, so yeah, reminding me that I'm talking to I guess I'll say purple audience. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm putting these questions in the chat, and whoever can answer the most amount correctly will be the winner of the $50 gift card. So while you're gathering your answers, Mr. Patrick Brennan, kind sir, can you please take it away? The floor is yours.
Awesome, thank you. And such a powerful presentation from Tiffany and Nicole. You know, knowledge is power, right? So we want to bust through that fear. So far you've already learned, you know, that there is a VA home loan benefit. If you weren't aware, that's step one, right? Step two is figuring out how it works and the steps in the process of actually utilizing it. But maybe you're still having a little bit of fear, right? So maybe, you know, I don't want to do maintenance costs, whatever that fear list is for you, right? So I'm going to give you some motivation. I'm going to give you the why, right? Tiffany and Nicole give you the how. I'm going to give you the why. So let me try to share my screen here. All right, y'all see that? Okay, so how would you like $100,000, right? Who doesn't want that kind of money? Let me show you how to do this a little bit. We're going to use the VA home loan benefit. I'm going to provide a scenario primarily based on active duty PCS, but it could apply to any portion of your life, okay? We're going to build some wealth with the VA home loan here. All right, so we know the county loan limit, $647,000, $250, right? So you're looking at that number tends to go up the last few years. It's gone up every single year, some big jumps the last 2 years. We'll find out in December if it's going to go up again for next year. But let's divide that number in half, right? We're going to look at two houses at once, $323,000 being the cost, right? That seems like a house you can afford, whether you're utilizing BAH or, you know, if you're retired, working in the civilian sector. Seems like a house you could afford here in San Antonio or somewhere else in Texas. Let's take that loan amount. Okay, so this is an amortization schedule. So you're going to buy that $323,000 house with the VA loan, home loan. You're not going to put a down payment. Hopefully you've already got your VA service connection. If not, go through TextVet, right? Get this stuff done. You're going to buy this house and you're looking at 6 years, right? How much have you paid down on that principal loan in 6 years? So this is a calculator. We're going to look at the bottom of the screen, the bottom right, and you're going to be, your new loan amount in 6 years from now is going to be 296, right? So you're making payments, that loan amount's going down on a 30-year schedule. That comes out to $27,000 you've paid down, right? In contrast, let's look at if you're renting, right? Oh, I'm afraid to buy a house. I don't want to do the maintenance. I don't want to do all that stuff. I'm too focused on my mission or my work or whatever the case is. The negative returns on renting are disastrous, right? And that same period over this roughly the same mortgage payment you would have, you're paying in rent, you're going to have negative $180,000 return. You're just burning that money, right? That income, the hard work money you're putting in the bank, just going out to pay somebody else who owns that property or that mortgage, right? So big difference there. So let's go a little farther down the rabbit hole. Let's look further into your return on investment. So real estate values appreciate year over year, right? I know we've had 2008 was a big thing. There's a lot of factors that go into that, but historically year over year and over, 10-year periods, the value of a house appreciates. And typically it's around 3 to 5%. The last couple of years we've had, 20% appreciation year over year, which is very abnormal, right? So don't get used to that. But if we look at that $323,000 house that you purchased, 5% appreciation over 6 years, the new value of your house is going to be $432,000. $100,000 in value just because you took the action of utilizing your VA home loan benefit and buying a house with very little money out of pocket. You would have made the same rent payments in that time period, but instead of being out $180,000, having lost that money, you've actually gained $100,000 in value. You combine that with the money you've paid down in principal, that $27,000, you've got $127,000 gross profit simply by utilizing a benefit that the government's put forth for you. Isn't that crazy? $127,000. Now, there's a strategy to this, okay? So let's go a little step further. You got to actually utilize that equity you built in that property. You've got to tap into that one way or the other, whether that's through, second liens on the property or selling the property. You've got to be able to tap into that, right? So we've got to bust the myth of sort of, I'm going to buy my forever house, right? Very few people actually take that one loan and have it for 30 years. You're either going to refinance it to get a lower rate at some other point in time, or you're going to sell it, right? So let's take a look at that. Let's be a little more intentional. This is what I call the leapfrog to wealth. Okay, so you're going to buy your first house this year in 2022, that $323,000 house. In 3 years with this model, right? If you're PCS in every 3 to 4 years, we're gonna base this off of that. In 3 years, 2025, you're gonna buy a second house. Maybe that's from a move out of state to a different city. Maybe you had another child and you need to move up and add more bedrooms or square footage to your house, or move to a different school district. But you're gonna buy that second house and you're gonna rent out the first one you bought. Okay, so now you own 2 properties on the VA home loan benefit. We go another 3 years, 6 years into this after you bought your first house. You're going to sell that first one. You're going to make $100,000. Results may vary, right? But $100,000 in this model off of that purchase, or after the selling of that first house, and you go and buy a third one using your VA home loan benefit because your eligibility, your COE has been freed up from selling that property. So again, you still own 2 houses. You're going to rent out that second one, live in the third one. You've got $100,000 in the bank. And we're just going to repeat this process. 3 years later, 2031, you're going to sell that second house, profit 100K, rent out the third one, and buy a fourth one. And if you do that every 3 years, you can see how this leapfrogs, right? Now, understand results may vary on all this, right? We're just using even numbers. Markets vary, economic conditions vary, your personal life situation will vary. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The point is that if you're buying houses and you're utilizing the VA benefit within the guidelines, you can build big chunks of money and you put it into something else, right? We talk about investments, compound interest. What if you took that $100,000 and put it into an investment account that got 10% return year over year, right? You double your money without doing anything in 10 years. Isn't that crazy? So the VA benefit is a very powerful tool, not only just to provide you some stability and a home for you and your family, but beyond that, you can leverage it in a way that actually provides some real wealth, generational wealth, making money while you sleep. It's a powerful tool. It's not meant to build a real estate portfolio, but if you're intentional with it, you can make some money. Okay, so managing expectations on this whole process, it's exciting. Hey, $100,000, of course I want that, right? Just realize you've got to find the right partners. You got to find the right lenders, the right realtors. You got to be smart with your money to begin with, right? You want to buy a house, you got to be smart with your money, okay? Work with somebody, go through the baby steps of paying down non-collateral debt, those types of things, build your credit scores up, have emergency funds in place to help minimize the fear of being, having to replace or repair something on your house. And just understand markets change, right? Right now, we're in this huge appreciation market for real estate. That will slow down in the near future, and we'll go back to 3 to 5% appreciation year over year. Just realize, okay, manage your expectations, but know that this tool, the VA home loan benefit, can help you actually build generational wealth. And I will tell you this, from my own experience being a loan officer, most of the clients I've worked with that have big chunks of money or big bank accounts, $500,000, $600,000 in their bank accounts, it's because they've sold houses. They bought a house, a primary residence, and however many years later they sold it, right? And then maybe they've done it a couple times, right? Especially if you're PCSing. That's how they've got the money in the bank. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't save for retirement. You should do that, right? But the big chunks of money, they come from real estate. And that's what I found. That's been my experience. And I hope this gets you guys excited and we bust through that fear and get you into home. And this is my information. Thank you all.